Hi, I'm Erin from the Witch of Saturn here with Shanna of Sincerely Shanna D and Jay of Iridescent Tarot. We are wrapping up our Marseille study. The Learn Marseille with Erin, Shanna, and Jay has come to an end. We've made it
Woohoo!
through. How's everybody feeling about that?
Yay. I'm really,
Excited.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
really, yeah. We were just having a quick chat on the side about how, like, this 3 month deck study really felt like the perfect amount of time. And had we gone with our original plan of until May, it just would have felt like we were really dragging it out when we got everything that we needed to get out of this. And I don't know that another 2 months would have helped me.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I think technically mine is not done like to the way that I would like to complete it in terms of my notes, but like
Mhm.
I am done. So it's something that I'm gonna revisit and kind of like work on when when inspiration strikes, let's say.
What would you say the percentage of completeness are you? Like, are you at 80% complete
Okay.
and just your a couple notes?
So I did get to the place where I wanted to in my mind, which was all of my notes on the like let's say like the theory are done, and then I just have to fill in specific cards. And there are a lot of cards that I have to fill in.
Mm.
But like all of the I don't know how to describe it. Like all of the passages and everything like about the courts, I've taken notes on. And then those pages that show, well, I could just show you, couldn't I? Like
This.
these, yeah, this. I still need to go through and take notes on like this individual card, right?
Got
But
it.
all of the theory behind the courts, all of those pages, like the rest of the book, besides the like kind of um, reference pages for the cards, I've got. And that
Okay.
is, I think, more important to me. Like that was where I wanted to get to. I'm like, I can go back in and fill in the cards as I, see fit or am working with that specific card at that time. But at least I don't, there's no more like of the reading of the chapter. I've got all that.
Okay. So probably around that 80% mark of like
Yeah,
total
let's say
completion.
that's, I feel like that's good. We'll go with
Yeah.
that. We'll ride with
Cool.
80, 75, 80s. Cool.
B minus.
It's fine. No, I'm not rating myself. I'm not, it's no graded situation. It's just like it's done enough, you know? Like it's
That's
good.
that's a great ending point though. You feel like the way that you're talking about it, you feel like you accomplished what you set out to accomplish, and now anything more you do to take notes on, it's kind of like the icing on the cake.
Yeah, and it did take me on a little bit of a like wild ride as things do. Like if I were to say what I really got out of the Marseille study has not so much to do with the Marseille study and more to do with like my real belief system around tarot because like just deep diving into the history of tarot, I really liked. And
Mm.
then some of the things that came up for me along the way through that, like, really made me question my beliefs. I had kind of like a crisis of belief that you guys know about when I was like, wait, is all this bullshit? Like I had a couple of like too
Yeah.
specific, I was like, is tarot bullshit? And then I was like, no, no, no. And I turned around from that really quickly. But then I was like, wait, is RWS bullshit? And then so I had a couple like spirals within my own, belief structure around what we're doing here. And I'm happy for that because it really helped me to, I always find that like questioning your beliefs brings you to a place of knowing what it is that you believe, right?
Yeah.
Like it will, it's only through that where I'm like, why do I believe this? Is this really what I think? Is this somebody else's belief that's not even mine? Um, like that's what really helps me to figure out myself and where I'm at and like why I'm doing what I'm doing. And so I'm very appreciative of this study for that, but it really had nothing to do with like learning Marseille, you know?
Mm. Well, that's something that we had talked about a little bit. I don't know if it was like after we had wrapped recording on our last video, but just talking about that is terrible. We kind of left ourselves with an assignment to check in with our like beliefs and thoughts about it, and then wanting to come back this episode and discuss those just because it was such a like pivotal experience for you during this study. So do you want to like share what your kind of conclusions were, and then we can kind of chat about how, like, I don't know. I spent a little bit of time thinking about it and taking notes
Yeah, what
this
do you
last.
think about it? I'm curious to like we had texted a little bit about it and what Shanna wrote in our group text I thought was great, and I'll share it with your permission,
Yep.
Shanna, at some point. I'll
We're
save
trying to
you.
we're trying
Yeah.
to preserve Shanna's voice.
Yeah, she's she's down with the flu, so we're like, Shanna,
All
just don't talk.
right.
But what did
Well,
you think
why don't
about it,
you
Jay?
what did I think about it?
What do you think about it?
Okay. Well, pose the original question to me and I will answer it because I feel like a lot of it comes down to kind of the way that the question is worded. So what is the question that you want to know?
My question was the first one was, wait, if this is like a game, right?
Yep.
A card game, like what are we doing here? Is this all like are we my crazy person, my
Hmm.
crazy man yells at clouds, right? Like
Yes.
we're like, what's happening here? That was like the first one. So start
Okay.
there.
So that's what I had written down is like tarot as a card game and how we read with it now. And so that was kind of like my starting point. And I found myself revisiting some videos from Sybil's lab. Specifically, Danielle had made a series of 3 or 4 videos talking about like she doesn't frame it as is tarot BS. It's more of like understanding the role of tarot if you're a skeptic. And I think that that's kind of the angle that you're coming at with this question is like, if I just suspend my disbelief of, um, like you identify as a witch, and so you must have some like level of believing there's like magic to the cards in some form. Like if I just put that aside and I think about tarot as a deck of cards and what I'm doing with it, how do I feel about that? And so I think that my ultimate conclusion is that to me, it does not matter if there is magic happening. And it's kind of like the placebo effect, where even if it's not doing something by virtue of the placebo effect being a real thing, like it's doing something. So there, to me, there doesn't have to be anything beyond that to satisfy my need for me to continue using cards. So like the question then becomes like, does it matter if it's BS?
Hmm.
To me, it doesn't matter.
Oh, really? It matters to me.
Tell me why.
Okay, so the point that I got to, and I did get to this fairly quickly with the wait, is tarot bullshit? And I was like, no, because you can divine with anything, right? Like divination is a practice that goes back, we don't even know how long. And like, people read tea leaves, people read palms. I'm over here reading charts of the stars, and it all works. Like to me, divination is a magical practice that taps into something greater than ourselves. So, like, of course, you could take a deck of cards, a game, and divine with it. Like, you could take pieces from like Monopoly and throw them down and divine with it. It doesn't, so in that way, like, it doesn't matter that it's tarot, right? Because I believe in divination and I believe in that based
Right.
on my experience
Yes.
with it.
Yep.
So that's when I was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, okay, well, there we go. Like squash that. Tarot's not BS. And it like repeatedly told me so. Like
That's really funny though, because if you look at it like a spectrum, you've got like the cartomancy divination end, and you've got like the really like I don't know, I would call it probably psychological in like like if you totally remove that esotericism, right? And then if you say in the middle, like not bull, we both ended up at the middle, but like coming from the complete opposite sides of it. Because I don't subscribe to it being like a divination
I
system,
know that's so
really.
interesting to me. I know that there's a lot of people like that, but for me, like that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And I really got to a place then because then I was like, well, wait, then like why are we like I was kind of like, why are we like why is the RWS this end all be all, right?
Mm.
Like who says there's all this history with Marseille and tarot's been around for how many hundreds of years before the Golden Dawn came along and like they were just like regular people, like magical people, witchy people, but like, you know, I don't know, were they're still people at the end of the day. And then like what makes the Wheat Smith the like that we're all going off of. And I know that there's a lot of people who like don't identify with the RWS and don't really read that way and they read tarot other ways. And so it just made me be like, because I came into it very much like learning RWS and having that be like the central teaching that everything else kind of like revolves around. And this kind of shook that up for me in a way that I found to be like very freeing. And I guess the moral of the story and what I came out of this with, which sounds like, I don't know, who cares how it sounds, is that like, oh, I'm the magic. It's not like the RWS is the system. It's that I am as the reader, using this deck of cards to divine with. This is my preferred method of divination, that this channeling of some kind of knowledge that I think comes from outside of myself. I don't see tarot. I think you can use tarot for like a psychological purpose, but for me, it's very much tapping in to something like beyond.
Mm.
And um, and that to me is like the magic. And that was, I think, kind of, is that similar to what you had said, Shanna? Like,
Yeah.
can I read what you wrote
Yeah, of
in
course.
our,
I will say, I know that you also use tarot the way that I do. Like you use it psychologically too. And
yeah,
I also use tarot sometimes in a way that feels more like connecting to the divine. But I would say like my primary MO and like the way that I use it is that way. So like I do like that there is some hint of magic with tarot. Like I enjoy that, but it's not the primary reason, I think.
this is what Shanna said, because I was like, I've started a new is RWS bullshit spiral. Like, what do you guys think about that? And Shanna goes, and yeah, Marseille makes me feel like traditional RWS feels a little kindergarten, but I think Pixie's intent was to make it more accessible to the average Joe, which I think is a really great point.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, I think what I've taken away from this is just that cards are an inexpensive, sometimes, way to divine slash go deeper. What we do with them is where the content is. And at the end of the day, if I read cards and they tell me something I needed to hear, then it's not bullshit. If I read
Yes.
cards and I get to have a conversation with my grams, then it's not bullshit. If I walk
Yes.
away from my reading table feeling lighter with something to chew on for the day, it's not bullshit. And I
Yep.
think that that is just like, and then you went on to say, I think we have to remember we are feeling intuitive, deep women who too often fall into the trap of being told that what we're feeling and experiencing isn't real. And we have a bad habit of listening. And that to me is the bullshit. And I loved that.
Yes.
I was just like, I needed to hear that so much in that moment, just because I was like, everything was just aligning for me to have this like little storm that morning where I was just like, you know, what is going on here? and and that was so helpful. So thank you for taking the time to share all of that.
Well
Of
said,
course.
Shanna. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I think it's interesting how you two are kind of, if we're looking at just the two of you, the two ends of the spectrum, like Jay was saying, where she's more the psychological aspect of it and you're more the spiritual, I guess, for lack of a better word.
Mhm.
I just think it's a great, and I think using the word spectrum was perfect because, yeah, it's just this huge gamut of how we can use the cards and how they work for us.
And
Yeah,
there's got to be, there's like other, that's just one angle of the tarot spectrum. Like there's other ways people use it too that we're not even talking about. But just in that, I don't know, in this specific instance of like, is tarot BS? Like those are kind of the things that I think about. Yeah.
yeah, I think that it's just such a personal thing, why we all it's a very personal practice. It's something that it's an intimate experience, whether that's with yourself or reading for someone else. And I think that's why we like there's such a need for community amongst it because can feel very solitary sometimes.
Mhm.
And it's nice to find like-minded people who also connect to the tarot for many different reasons, like you're saying. And it was just very helpful for me to kind of like redefine that for myself. It wasn't even like I felt skeptical about it. It was more like I had to kind of like, it was just more like a tower moment of like, let me take down everything that I've where I'm at right now and just reassess my foundation and like what it is that I really feel about this practice and believe and know to be true and get really like clear and aligned with that within myself. And I do think it cracked something open in the way that I read because it kind of freed me from feeling so attached to the RWS meanings of the cards. Like,
Mhm.
where I just now feel like I have more of a trust in myself than like a dependency on what someone else says this card means, you know?
I
Yes.
think Marseille is very validating. At least that's how I felt. Like just the open and the freestyle, I guess, of the reading, that was very validating. So I think going along with what you just said, it just gives you more permission to actually listen to what, like, yes, this is a thing that you're being told. So go ahead and listen. It's fine. That's the point.
Yeah, and it's funny because like when I learned an open reading style with RWS, which is what I use when I read for other people, I like was very open to letting the cards mean what they mean in the reading. Like I'll often see an RWS image and like the definition that comes from the spread from the imagery is different from what it's going to say in a little white book, right?
Mhm.
But there was still part of me that like didn't apply that to my own practice or something. I don't know. It just kind of like expanded on that for me and just kind of like busted loose some of the self-imposed parameters that I've kind of given myself, or just that tendency that I have to be like, well, wait, what does this mean? Instead of just tapping into what I know it means. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Like it kind of took out this little side like conversation that happens in my brain about like, well, it's King of Wands and he means this kind of a thing instead of just
Well, it's like you've got your meanings on an index card in front of you, and you were using just that, but you allowed yourself to put down the index card and like look up, and take
yeah,
in
just like
everything
kind
else
of
that's there.
broke that part of my brain off like a little iceberg that I didn't need anymore or something. Like it just felt like something kind of cracked where I'm like, oh, yeah, that's nice to have, but that's not what this is about for me anymore or something. Like I appreciate the RWS meanings and they do matter, but they're just not as big of a percentage for me anymore or something.
Um, so my like question mark, is this BS, was when I was reading the Queen of Coins. And so we're reading about all the different things, right? And it says the small white circle level with her abdomen signifies a sense of feeling at ease with her inner self, as if her center is where it ought to be. And I'm looking at this and I'm like, that that is the end of this
Of this
scepter or
of that
like
thing.
how dare we read that much into the end of the scepter? And then I was like, yeah, so like you can just kind of pick whatever you want and make it mean whatever you want. You kind of can.
Totally.
I I might get heat for this for saying this, but there were multiple points in this book where I just thought, who does this guy think he is? Like,
Like deep eye roll.
literally that. I'm like, oh, tell me more. I can't wait to hear what you think about this. So
It's just
yeah,
like
I agree.
it's such a random thing to point out and read that much into when if you're just like looking at the picture as a whole, it's very clearly the end of the like I don't know, whatever. That was like my moment where I was like, I'm on the same wavelength as Erin.
What are we doing here? But
Yeah.
I find that that's kind of like a very Marseille thing in general. It's all about these little details. This person's facing this way, what their feet are going that way, and person has more clothing. And like it's just all detail oriented because that's what you have to go off of, is what you see and what you then interpret from the cards because they don't have this added meaning of esotericism that later comes into the practice. Like you just have to go on what the card looks like. And that is,
Mhm.
how many hundreds of years old. And like we had said in previous episodes, it's like, yeah, but isn't that just like, couldn't that just be an error? Or
Yeah.
like that you're assigning all this meaning to, and it's just like the way that the paint didn't hit that part of the like, it's,
Right. Yep. Yep.
you know,
Well, here's
um,
my question too on modern decks then. So like Squidcake, for example, where there are no mistakes, there's no printing error, if that's what we're going to go for, is what we're, if that's what we're going to say that those are, which who knows if that's the case. There's no nuance in these modern decks. Like there's no, tiny coloration. There's no like, I mean,
Mm.
generally speaking, just generally speaking of like Squidcake specifically, like all of these little, like the one little, this, like you said, the white stripe or the upside down triangle or whatever, all these things, the modern decks just don't have that. So I find that interesting if we're going to use those things as part of Marseille, to not have that in a modern deck seems counterintuitive.
yeah, a little
So
fishy.
like, but in 500 years, maybe they're gonna look at what's on Squidcake and they're gonna think like, I don't know, we don't have the same garb that they had. So like maybe this was just the way that that was always colored, but we would have no idea that it's like that. And now we're reading into it like, oh, the color and the lines, but like to them, it was just normal.
Yeah, yeah.
But this
So
comes
we,
back to my point about you can divine with anything because I can look at the
Mhm.
tea leaves at the bottom of my cup and be like, well, they're shaped like this, so it means that. Like you can do whatever you want. It's like kind of the takeaway, the point.
yeah, yeah, it is freeing.
I wanted to say I thought that I would be more interested in this back section of the book where it had like the meanings and of every single card. And
Hmm.
I found that once we got to this point, I thought those were less important and less interesting than the whole rest of the book.
Hmm.
Because I feel like we had learned so much up to that point of like learning how to look at the card and distinguish what it meant for us in that moment for that reading. That reading, what he interpreted the card as, didn't feel as important anymore.
Yeah,
So that was
yeah.
kind of nice.
That's a good insight because they are pretty trite and it strips back all of those little individual symbolism things that we've
Mhm.
gone through. I think the usefulness for this is the way that Erin had been using it, which I wish I knew about. I think you mentioned it in the last episode that like all along you've been referencing this in your readings. Like I hadn't been doing that. I guess I was just pulling cards and then like interpreting them without like looking them up. Um,
Well, I was doing that too, but there were times where I was like, oh, well, let me see what it says in the back of the book about that. Like I
yeah,
would just use it like a guidebook if I felt the need to, use the guidebook.
I kind of wish that this whole section was just like a little white book size in the back that you could like then remove and then use that when you're reading Marseille. Like, I think I'm all set with the book now, but I do want those for like on the go if I just want to quickly, read.
Yeah, you want it guidebook sized and not
Yeah. Hmm.
real book sized.
Yeah, because this is going back on the shelf and like I don't know when it will ever come out again.
Did you guys do any of the like little activities that we put on that Jay had put on the spreadsheet? I
Yeah,
did
so
not.
the ones for the last couple weeks were the court ladder, and
Yeah.
then the choosing a court from each set, and then describing them as a person, describing them as a behavior. And then the last week we were supposed to do that open 3-card reading to compare to the beginning. Y'all didn't do that?
I didn't do anything.
I didn't do any of them either. I'll be completely
My
honest.
God.
Did you
Well,
do them?
of course I did. I set the assignment.
You did. She's like, I have to do it because
Very bad
I wrote it in there.
student.
But I did it last night. I will.
She's like, oh no. I
At
better do
Of
midnight.
course I did it last night.
That's funny.
So, like, I felt for reflections on that, like the court ladder part was cool, but also very similar to like at the very beginning of the study when we went through each card and kind of like looked at our assessment of individual cards. Like it could have probably been in with that, but I had separated it out to keep the court cards, you know, to give them a little something. And then choosing the court from each set and then describing them as a person and then the behavior, that was a lot of fun. Like I would say if you're craving connecting with your cards and you're like, I don't really want to do a reading, I want to do something different and fun, that is a cool thing to do. Because basically what I did was I took out the 16 cards and then I separated them into their suits. And then for each of the suits, so there's 4, so I picked one like level from each suit and then I wrote about them. So like, for example, what is this? The cups. It was kind of like a creative writing exercise. So for cups, I wrote about the Knight of Cups, okay? So the assignment is describe them as a person and then a behavior. So I wrote, he's in denial of what's right in front of him and insists on imposing that reality on all that is around him. The horse couldn't hold his weight before, but he insisted and remounted and said, take me to the watering hole for more now. So like, he's just like, that's what I think of him. But like based on this image, and that's not something I would have said about any Knight of Cups, you know what I mean?
I like that.
Yeah, so you're like putting him into a little story.
Yeah. Like, what is he like? Like, I'm looking at this dude, looking at his face, looking at him sitting on this horse who can like barely hold him. Yeah, it was fun.
Do you think you'll do it for the rest of them? Did you do it for the rest of them?
Yeah, I did one. So like this, I did the knight, and then for the swords, I did the queen or whatever. So I did one from each. So I did 4 of them.
Nice.
Did you do the repeat open reading or you skipped that too?
I skipped it too.
Okay. Have you been reading Marseille? Like, do you feel like there's a difference from the very beginning, or has the Marseille practice petered out so much that you're like, I don't know that there even would be a difference from the beginning?
I would say so. I think when I came into it, it was very much what I knew from RWS because that's how I learned tarot. And now I can kind of see the difference between the two systems to where I can pull out an RWS deck or a Marseille deck and I'm going to read them very differently, or potentially, crisscross the different things that we've learned in here between the two. So
I think that the only way that I would be reading them differently is because they have different imagery. So I'm seeing something different. Like to me, it kind of fits into just like it's a different deck. Like I'm just back on that whole, it's all the same.
tarot, yeah.
Yeah. Like I'm just so like rooted in that. But like I still don't feel like and maybe I'm just missing I could be just missing the point. Like maybe I'm just not getting something here. But like I don't feel like I have like this is how I read Marseille, like this is how you speak French, and then this is how you speak RWS and speak English. Like I don't feel bilingual in my tarot brain or something.
Oh,
Like it sounds like you guys have become bilingual, and I'm like, oh, it's all saying the same thing.
No, I wouldn't. I see what you're saying. I don't think I'm not fluent. I'll say that. Maybe I'm bilingual, but it's like elementary level.
It's like Spanglish, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Is
Great.
that an okay thing to say?
It's great content. I'm so here for this conversation. Yeah, but I mean, I think it's a worthwhile analogy, right? Like,
Yeah.
are you reading it like this is how I read Marseille? And it's these are different meanings than like when I look at the RWS, I read them this way, and I'm more just like, I don't know, I'm just reading tarot,
Reading the cards. Yeah.
you
I think that's
know.
fair.
But I
Yeah.
do like the Marseille. I like the pips. I like the different um I do think that there's something really powerful about not having the like everyday scenes. I think that they can be kind of like they give you a lot and they also are limiting at the same time, right? Um, and that's why like this whole thing is kind of like piqued my interest in Toth for the first time because I'm like, oh, this is kind of like a blending, it seems like to me, of and it's like the super woo deck. If
Yeah.
like Marseille is there's no woo, and then RWS is like mass market woo, and then Top is like fucking out there.
Mass market moo.
Mass market woo.
Yeah.
Woo woo.
That's really interesting. Maybe that's why. I remember like halfway through the study when I was like, I've returned back to Thoth and I don't know why.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like it needed a little bit of zhuzhing up.
Yeah, I think that there's something interesting there. It feels like kind of a combination of systems or something. So back to the language thing. So are you guys doing that when you read Marseille? Are you like, I'm going to interpret this based on the Marseille interpret like definitions that I've learned?
I don't think I do that specifically, but I think to be able to look at the Seven of Cups in a RWS, like say the Green Witch Tarot that everybody knows, right? The Seven of Cups in that versus the Seven of Cups in a Marseille deck, I think you're going to be focusing in on different aspects of the image to where you're going to be reading it in a different way. Like the Seven of Cups in the Green Witch, you're going to see, the door behind I think I can remember which card it is. The door behind the witch,
I
and
gotta
she's
look
looking
it
at all
up.
these gold cups. The color of her dress, what way she's facing, what is her facial emotion reading, what's in the cups, what's on the shelf behind her, versus the Six Cups where you have the shapes of the cups and you have the shapes in the cups and you have the shapes between the cups, which cups are up, which cups are down. It's just, I think your analogy of a language is perfect because it's the same words, but they're being said in a different way.
Mhm.
Like it's like there is translation, but there tends to sometimes be a loss of translation too.
I get
And
it.
in a good way.
I think I'm doing the
Interesting.
same thing. I think
Yeah.
it sounds similar.
Yeah.
It's more based on like what's in front of you rather than like, accessing a different reference in your mind.
Yeah, I don't know that the textbook definitions that I've memorized from this study have stuck well enough that I think that's why I feel like I'm not fluent is because those, yes, I read it, I highlighted it, I took notes on it, but like ultimately I don't know what percent I actually will retain of that. And so for me, I think similar to what Shanna said, where it's like how you're interpreting the card, looking at the symbolism, using that open reading style, like those are the things that I'm taking away from this that I can apply to any deck that I have. And maybe I gained a little bit more textbook definition from this that are more Marseille than my previous understanding, but I don't think that I'm going to be speaking in the language of Marseille as my new primary language.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But I'm really excited to read that book that your friend recommended, Shanna. I bought that and once I finish Tom Benjamin's Tarot on Earth, I think that's going to be my next Marseille book. I don't even know if it's specifically Marseille, but it's on the open reading style, something tarot tableau. And I think that that's the most exciting thing that I discovered throughout this whole study is open reading. And it's just such a different way than I had been used to. And I'm excited about that and less so excited about like, what does the Fool mean in a Marseille deck versus in RWS or in Thoth.
You'll have to let me know how you like the book.
I think that's probably, since I have returned to the Thoth study, I think that's kind of how I'm going to feel after the Thoth study too, because I don't know that I'm going to retain 78 nuanced meanings for Thoth either, but it is going to add like a new lens or a new flavor, a new dialect maybe to my tarot, but not like a brand new language that I'm ever going to feel fluent in.
And was the Tom Benjamin book like, what's the premise for that? Is it like a Marseille, intro to Marseille book?
So it's called Tarot on Earth. I'm about halfway through the book. And so far, up until this point, there have not been any like straight up card definitions. So we've got the table of contents here. Part 1, the pips, we talk about numerology, light and shadow, elements. There are a lot of activities. I am not doing any of them. I'm just reading it through to see what I gain. Part 2, the trumps. Part 3, visual language of tarot. Part 4, putting it together. So let's see. Interlude 3. Yeah, so I haven't made it to part 3, but that's the part that I'm most excited about. Just that, like, I feel like that's the key to understanding any deck, is that like understanding the visual language of the deck that you're working with in tarot. So I like that it's not just card meanings in the same vein as Ben-Dov. Like, I don't need another book that's going to do the minor suits and then go by each one. Like, I don't really have an interest in that.
What does he say about numerology in there?
He says, if you have the Jodorowsky or Ben-Dov books, you may start there. LOL. It's more encouraging you to develop your own associations with the numbers and with the suits and stuff. So like, if that's what you're interested in, then you're going to want to do this with actually doing the activities. And I think because I didn't go through and actually do that, I didn't like slurp up all the knowledge. So what, out of all of the decks that you've worked with throughout the whole study, what's been your favorite?
I would say Tarot de Ozarks. I pretty much put the other one away other than to compare like what was said in the book, which was kind of pointless because a lot of the nuances that he talks about is not in the deck that I have. So I just like the looseness of Tarot de Ozarks for Marseille.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, what is it about that deck that you liked the best? But it's just like the art style and how it's more loosey-goosey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Mine is definitely Bacus, which isn't even a Marseille. Like that great video that Ina did from Taproot Tarot exploring that whole subset of
Oh,
decks.
you loved it?
I loved that video. I thought it was I love her content, and I keep bugging her to do like a history of the tarot series. But I thought that was so interesting, and I just love that deck. I just think it's so beautiful. Nova's deck, Nova Mundi's deck is just gorgeous. So I'm really happy to have that. And I like all the different historical like iterations of the tarot. I can see why people go deep down that rabbit hole. Like, I could do it. I can't do it right now. I have other rabbit holes that I am prioritizing, but like I could very easily get into that about like, oh, and then this region and it changed this way and blah blah blah. Like, cool.
I fell down it a little bit. Like, I didn't go fully down the rabbit hole. I scraped my way back out, clawed my way up the walls, back out of that.
I went down enough to like feel like I understood it to the point that I needed to. Like, I need to like understand things. I need to like pause and understand a full concept before I can like move, on or something. So I got to that point with it. But then as far as like I'm not going to go buying a bunch of decks to sit and compare, but I could. I
Yeah.
could get into that. But I'm not going to.
That's funny.
But here's something interesting that has recently come up for me is like I'm going to start a deck and walk this year. And I've studied pretty heavily already the astrological associations with the tarot. And something that like just changed in my brain this week in kind of exploring the history of that of the astral, of the decans themselves and the overlay with the tarot was like I kind of in my head thought like I haven't studied the Golden Dawn enough, but in my head I was like, oh, they're like laying them on top of the RWS, right? Like the astrological associations are kind of getting like slapped onto the cards. And now I'm like, oh no, the Golden Dawn had done that before the creation of the RWS, before the creation of the Thoth.
Hmm.
That system existed. It's like baked into the cards. And that really fascinates me. So I'm like,
Cool.
you know what I mean? Does that make sense? Where
Hmm.
I always kind of saw them as like,
Slapshod.
yeah. And now I'm like,
Yeah.
no, they were there and then they drew these decks. This deck was created with this in mind. And that just kind of like really lights me up and excites me to
Is
dive in more.
is that what made you want to do the deck and walk, or did you discover that while you were preparing for it?
No, I just discovered that while I was like f- kind of studying, doing what I do and being
Cool.
like, wait, pause before I start this deck and walk. I need to like understand where the Decans even come from. Who first learned about these? How far back are we going? Like I had to wrap my brain around it first. And that was kind of like the takeaway for me for that was like, oh, all right, okay. I'm I like that more because the thing that I like there's just a big difference to me in terms of astrology and tarot, where astrology is ancient. Like we're talking thousands of years, right? And tarot is just relatively like very new. And so the idea that these tarot decks are created based on the existing structure of astrology is very exciting to me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what else? Anything else that you want to go over? Any other takeaways from the study?
Not really. I mean, I'm thrilled that we did it because I never would have done this on my own. So thank you for doing it with me and allowing me
Yeah.
to crush your party.
Oh my gosh,
'Cause I
thank
know
you.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you
Yeah.
both for it was definitely a good time.
It
I
was.
was talking yeah, I was talking about it with my husband last night, and I was like, I don't know if we hadn't have done this together and recorded the videos and done all this, that I would have managed to finish the book. Like, I don't know that I would have
Mhm.
pushed through. And I'm really glad that we did it because I can check this off my list. Like, okay, like I did the Marseille thing. Like, I know what it's about. I have a good enough understanding that like if the itch comes again that I can find resources that take me in deeper, but I have like that first layer of knowledge and feel completed in that.
Agreed.
Agreed. I definitely would not have done it this way, like I might have picked up this book and read a little bit and familiarized myself, but I don't think it would have been this committed if it weren't.
Yeah.
The whole package.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I do want to share this one like thing that happened along my is tarot bullshit phase, right? So we had filmed, it was the last time we filmed, and we had had all of that discussion about the tower, right? And like, what were the balls? Were
Yep.
they lightning? Were they the mana? the sky treats, right? Or like now I kind of think that they're hail because if it's a storm and like that, they're balls, it like makes sense. But and that's one thing, one big takeaway for me is that now every time I see the tower, I think about it as lightning. Like the fact that it used to be called lightning and they changed it to the tower, like I like lightning so much better. I just want them all to be named that now. I'm like, anyway. So then I had gone to do, I think it was like one of yeah, I've been doing those Lion Hearts Instagram challenges. And so it was that night or the next day, right after we had been talking about this. And I was simultaneously being like, what's this all about anyway? And I read the prompt and I was like, oh, you know what I'm going to use for that? The Gentle Tarot, which I don't reach for all that often. It's not like a deck that's in my daily rotation, but I was like, that's the deck I need to use. And this is what I pulled. Can you see it?
Go to the, yep.
There you go. It's got the sky treats.
It's sky treats. The whole
That's
thing.
so funny.
All three, I was like,
Yep. And you're like,
Tarot
so yeah.
was like, I am not bullshit. Here are your damn sky treats. I went through the deck to be like, how many cards have these in them? Like, is this in
Mhm.
every card? And now I'm just double crazy. Or like, no, it's very small percentage of cards. And so I was just like, all right, okay, I hear you.
Universe, you got it. Okay. We're on the same page.
Yep, I got
That's so funny.
got the message. Thanks for the sky treats.
I love
Well,
it.
if that's not enough sky treats for you, have you ever seen the deck that's just all the tower card?
Yes.
Like every single all of the 78 cards are the tower, but I think it's like different iterations. Like it would be like the world, but if you
But
interpret it as
yes,
the tower.
I have seen that. I have seen
Yeah.
that. Like
Yeah.
RWS, but make it tower.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Wow. That's intense.
Yeah, I don't need that.
That's my nightmare.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Oh.
But I do love that. There were a couple of cards through this study that really like changed for me because of what I learned through the Marseille. And that was definitely one of them. That was like I'll never, it was just total, I have a totally different understanding of that card now, that I really like. I'm really happy about it.
Yeah. It's a good depth of understanding and different ways of comprehending what you're seeing.
Yeah, just like it's, oh, I almost look at it like tarot's constantly revealing itself to you. Like there's always a different way you can always go deeper into it. You can always unlock. It's almost like you're unlocking a new part of the card, a new identity, a new face, the facet of that crystal reveals itself to you. Like as you experience it or are open to or ready to receive it. I always say that like with yoga that it meets you where you're at, and tarot does that too. Like
Mhm.
first start reading tarot, you're gonna, gravitate towards whatever system you're learning. Those RWS meanings are gonna meet you where you're at. But if you've been like living tarot for a couple of decades, like you're gonna get different parts of the card revealed through your life experience and what you learn and kind of because you're open to it, right? And so I just feel like there was a couple of particular cards that revealed new sides of themselves to me that I'm very grateful for because that's part of why I love this shit.
And that's why you can love it for your entire life. And you
Yeah.
can feel like you're truly a lifelong learner with tarot and it just never ends. Yeah.
Yes. I'm
Yeah.
all about that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll keep learning that's all I want to do. I'm like, God, can't you just like get paid to be a student? Like, come on.
That'd be
What the heck?
amazing.
What the heck? That's what's the bullshit.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you
So
guys.
I was
Yeah,
going to
thank
say,
you.
just to wrap up, like what's next? So for each of us, I know, Erin, you're going to be doing your deck and walk. Shanna, what do you have that you're going to do now with all your free time from this?
I've been doing a Cantagy study with some other friends, so I'll focus on
Nice.
that a little bit. And I think they want to read Tarot on Earth. I think they want to read that. So
Oh, cool.
yeah,
That's awesome. That's fun.
yeah,
That's good. That'll be like a nice additional supplement. And it'll be good that you're not going to go card by card again if you do end up joining them for it.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Oh yeah, for sure. That'd be too much.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Jay, what about you?
I think I want to wrap up my Thoth study. Now that I dabbled back into it and now that this is wrapped up, I feel reinvigorated to just finish. I was reading both the Book of Thoth and also the Lon Milo DuQuette book at the same time, which I find like, yes, it's harder to work your way through it, but I ended up accidentally doing it with this study anyways, right? Like I ended up pulling in another resource. So I would like to finish both of those books and wrap up a Thoth study. I have no idea how long it will take me. I'm probably, I don't know, like a quarter, between a quarter and a half way through the cards. So I'd like to wrap that up over the next however many months.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
You'll have to let us know how that works out. The wisdom of Thoth talk,
Yeah.
however one says it.
I'm not going to be the person that's able to give some nice in-depth insights, and especially the quartz, like forget it. The quartz are a disaster. Oh yeah, I finished yeah, maybe I'm like closer to a halfway through the deck, but I'll do a wrap-up video when that's done just to give updates because I did post my Thoth study video at some point.
Yeah, I was listening to a podcast with Lon Milo DuQuette on it. I don't have his book, but he was talking about some interesting stuff that I was like, like the alchemical process being reflected in the Thoth, I thought was really interesting. I haven't learned
Yes.
that before. I'm open to learning about it and want to weave it into my deck and walk because I think that that's like the perfect way for me to do it, just like little bits that align with the particular part chunk of the season, and like I don't think I can do the whole like the way that you're doing it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the
Like
way that you
immerse
said.
myself in Crowley like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And also getting through the actual Book of Thoth is I don't know, like you're reading it. Well, I'll say it. I'm reading it and I'm just like, what is this? I don't know.
Like the rantings of a madman. He was
Yeah.
like, a mad genius, like, you know,
Yeah.
and an asshole, but brilliant. Like, come on. Very
It's
controversial.
interesting.
Very interesting figure. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. This was really fun. Thank you to all of you who have been along for the journey with us. It's been great to have people like following along, right? And doing their own thing with
Yeah,
Marseille.
Yeah,
definitely.
for sure. Thanks for watching. Thanks for
Yeah.
being here. See you when we see you.
Yes.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.